Izuku Midoriya is definitely one of the most important yet highly divisive main protagonists in recent anime history. This mainly boils down to the wildly ranging different levels of writing quality and also Deku just being depicted as a massive crybaby wimp at the beginning of the series. However, power scaling wise, Deku and the My Hero verse are massively underrated. I have spent a lot of time defending this series, and to be honest, I'm kinda sick of it, so I figured I'd make one big video talking about just how strong Deku is. This video was originally going to be Deku versus Eren, but you guys on Discord said you would rather see this video, so if you want to be involved with more videos in the future, then join the Discord with a link in the description below. If you're going to enjoy this video, then make sure to like and subscribe as well. The calculations I show within this video will also be in a link in the description within a Word document, so let's get on with how powerful is Izuku Midoriya. Since Deku is often viewed as a wimp, people often underestimate how physically strong Deku is, especially especially when he doesn't have his ability active. I mean, this does make sense to a certain extent, as without a quirk, you're basically just a regular person within My Hero Academia, but something that people don't really get is that just because you're a regular person in a fictional story does not inherently mean that you're as strong as a regular person in real life, especially when there are feats to say otherwise. For example, in other shows, Speedwagon and JoJo is able to fight superhuman zombies despite just being some guy, and Sokka and Avatar is able to react to people as fast as lightning. This is all well and good, but in order for something like this to apply to Deku, there would need to be feats to show that he isn't just human level without one for all. Well, even when it's not active, Deku is able to take a point-blank explosion that's so big it would equal 46.98 tons of TNT, or enough power to destroy city blocks. Even when he doesn't have his power active, Deku is durable enough to no-cell explosions that can destroy entire skyscrapers at least. This may actually be downplay, as I will get onto later as well. Deku also shows many multi-city block to town level feats as well in his lower percentages. One of these feats when he's at 20% is being able to create a small tornado with a punch, requiring him to output the power of over 127 tons of TNT in order to match it. He's also able to damage Shigaraki, who can survive a large attack from Redrestro, who could output the power of 513 tons of TNT. The town level scaling comes from when, even at using 8% of his power, he should be on par with Bakugo, whose howitzer impact can create a blast radius able to 66.57 kilotons of TNT. Even then, this might even still be downplay. This is due to the fact that at the very beginning of the series, Shoto Todoroki is able to create a large ice structure instantaneously. Due to the sheer size of it and the speed that Shoto created it, people have calculated this out to be equal to 3.07 megatons of TNT behind it, with Todoroki's fire being able to melt in a similar time frame. His fire would be able to output the equivalent of 10.2 kilotons of TNT. Consider how the fire scales alone, to Todoroki, when he's a lot stronger later on in the series, could damage Tetsu with it, who could stalemate Kirishima, and Bakugo's explosions could damage him. Again, this would be the same Bakugo at the beginning of the series, would already be town level at least. Now you might be asking, does Deku scale to the small city level feat? Maybe not within the same arc that it happened, although you could still go toe to toe with Todoroki, so you could argue that he does, but he would for sure surpass this later on in the series, considering this is a pretty newbie Todoroki by comparison. Not to mention that Deku is one of, if not the physically strongest My Hero Academia character of all time. This is because he's easily able to beat up All For One possessed Shigaraki, who is stated to be as durable and as strong as All Might, and is even compared to All Might in his prime. All Might in his prime was literally untouchable, and no one could ever defeat him, not even other pro heroes. Yet Deku is slapping around someone as strong as him, which makes sense when you consider the fact that whenever One For All is passed down, it gets stronger. This would mean that he would scale higher than pretty much every other feat shown in the series, such as a drugged up Wolfram who was able to create and throw a large metal cube with force equaling to 174 megatons of TNT, or enough to destroy entire mountains, and Deku is able to use this beyond prime All Might power at only 45%, meaning that at 100% he is much stronger. Not to mention that there are feats way beyond that. For example, Star and Stripes hits Shigaraki with an attack so powerful is equal to 6.38 gigatons of TNT, or enough to destroy entire islands, with the higher end of this calc being equal to 3.13 teratons of TNT, or enough to destroy small countries. Shigaraki was even able to laugh this off as well, all the while taking much more serious hits from Deku. Endeavor was able to completely vaporize the Hood Nomu. Due to the sheer size and because it was vaporization, Endeavor built output power equal to 8.27 gigatons of TNT. And as I said, Deku would be stronger than All Might. All Might with his Detroit Smash, I butchered that somehow. How did I butcher the pronunciation of Detroit? Was able to completely change the weather and create a large storm. The power to perform such a feat would be equal to 735 gigatons of TNT, or be classed as large island level. And Deku is supposed to slap up someone as powerful as that. And even then, that's not the full story. As I said, Deku should scale to, or if not higher than, Prime All Might, and All Might when he performed this feat was weaker and not in his prime. So how strong is All Might in his prime? During the fight with USJ Nomu, All Might shows that in order to defeat Nomu, he needed to produce 300 straight punches in order to win, in stark contrast to when he was in his peak where he only needed 5, which is a 60 times difference. Taking All Might's feat and then applying it by 60 to get Prime All Might, Deku would be able to output the power of 45.3 teratons of TNT, or enough to destroy entire countries. Now, this would be where I normally scale Deku, however, you can actually scale him even higher. This is due to the feat where Deku and Bakugo split a massive storm that was so large it eclipsed an entire island. The issue with this feat is they're wildly ranging different calcs for this. The low end would put it at 748 megatons of TNT, which would be much less than what I already placed him, however the higher ends can make Deku much stronger. For the mid-end calc, Deku would be able to output the equivalent of 600 or 262 teratons of TNT, or enough to destroy large countries. Now, Bakugo was there as well, but even if we half the feat, it's still equal to 131 teratons of TNT, or still large country level. This feat would make more sense in terms of splitting storms larger than entire islands, only being mountain level just doesn't really sit right with me. The highest end of this calc would have Deku being able to output the equivalent of 34.66 petatons of TNT, or enough to destroy multiple continents. Keeping in mind, Deku gets much stronger after this, so this could even be argued as a low ball, though I will admit multi-continental Deku does seem a bit far. That said, though, Deku can scale. If you scale this to Deku as weakened All Might state, basically, and then apply the Prime multiplier, you could take Deku to 4.9 petatons of TNT, or also multi-continental, if you use the mid-end scaling, and though it is headcanon. Keep in mind that these are also baselines for Deku, as you can actually output more power than that through multiple different ways. Firstly, he can simply increase the level of All for One he's using, he can access his rage, and thirdly, he can use Fajin, which I'll get into soon, along with being able to go beyond his limits and use One for All 1,000,000%. This doesn't multiply Deku's power up to 100,000 times, but it does help him to push through his limits while in extreme circumstances to produce more power. So what have we gathered here? The bare minimum is that Deku in base would have the durability to equal destroying city blocks, and his lower percentages of power can destroy towns to small cities, and at full power he can destroy at least countries, but likely can scale to large country level or possibly even higher. But of course, we aren't done there, we still have speed to go over. Considering some people seem to think that bullets should be used in My Hero Academia, you might think that Deku doesn't have much in the way of speed, but this is massive downplay. Starting off in the lower percentages, he should scale to, if not higher, than Denki Kaminari, who uses electricity-based attacks. Now, if this is lightning, then Denki Kaminari's attacks would be able to move at 270,000 miles per hour. However, it could scale higher if you think it's pure electricity. Pure electricity can at fastest move at over 670 million miles per hour, or over 0.9 the speed of light. Deku is very easily faster than light with his higher percentages going with this. However, Deku can already be scaled to light speed and is base to lower percentages, much less the higher levels. To start, the invisible girl was able to react fast enough to jump in front of Deku and block a beam of light. And considering the invisible girl is one of, if not the physically weakest of Class 1A, it should scale to Deku bare minimum in his lower percentages. There's then also Tokoyami, who has an ability that can consume shadows and is also described as a sentient shadow which feeds on darkness, which shadows move at the speed of light. There's also Toga's quirk, which is comparatively similar in the functions of quantum tunneling, which is a way of moving faster than light. There's also Starred Stripes, who could outright hold lasers in her hand and use them in attacks, which is also the speed of light. But for some reason, if you do not buy any of that at all, Shigaraki could combine radio waves with his attacks that even Gran Torino could react to. Radio waves travel at the speed of light. Now, you have to go through a lot of hoops to say that Deku is not faster than light, especially when he massively upscales of all of these feats. Deku has a plethora of abilities and techniques. Firstly, his most iconic being able to punch. Very, very hard. So hard, in fact, he can create multiple attacks out of pure air and even create tornadoes. He has much more than this, however, due to his 7 quirks, so let's go through them. Number 1, Fajin. Fajin is the ability Deku has to store kinetic energy from repeated movement. With this, Deku can basically charge up power and unleash it on foes much more powerful than him. Number 2, Danger Sense. Danger Sense basically gives Deku a spidey sense of sorts, being able to detect imminent danger and even sense the hostility and bloodlust within people, making sneak attacks on them basically useless. Number 3, Black Whip. This quirk gives Deku, well, black whips. These can allow Deku to grab onto objects or from far away and can also swing through the air with ease. Number 4, Smokescreen. As the name implies, Deku can create large amounts of smoke, which can even span over city blocks. With this, Deku can easily disorient people and sneak up on people himself. Number 5, Float. Deku could already propel himself into the air with ease before, but with Float, Deku can fly without any restrictions whatsoever. Number 6, Transmission. This quirk allows Deku to pass on his overall powers to someone else, and can even do this momentarily if the plot demands it, with the last quirk being considered one for all himself. Even still, there are many different skills and abilities I have not listed yet. Deku is very skilled in hand-to-hand combat and is quite acrobatic. Even without Danger Sense, he can easily predict his opponent's moves, even if their opponents are faster than him, and flawlessly counter them. He has energy manipulation, multiple cells, retrocognition, the ability to create afterimages, and can increase his power of sheer anger. He has enhanced senses and can even hurt people without a physical form, being able to scale to All Might, who can hurt people made of pure energy. This means that intangible beings of like ghosts, for example, Deku could still hurt, providing their durability is much higher. Deku also has plenty of resistances as well. He has the ability to resist being mind controlled and some pretty extreme temperatures as well. His powers cannot be forcibly removed from him, even by people who can distinctly have the power to do so. This means if he's in a fight with someone who can steal powers, he's absolutely fine. His mouth guard also can protect him from toxic gases as well, and he also has a pretty mental pain tolerance, being able to fight with broken bones flawlessly. Now, by far his most broken abilities consist of being able to ignore fate itself and being able to manipulate the laws of physics. You see, there's a character called Sarnaitai who can see into the future with extreme precision and cannot be changed. Despite this, Deku created just a different future with sheer willpower alone, meaning that if someone fights Deku with the ability to manipulate fate, Deku might be able to outright combat that in some way. For the physics manipulation, yeah, he literally punches so hard the laws of physics are warped. Wrap your head around that one. Deku's intellect is also nothing to scoff at either. As I said, he's able to actively predict and counter people moving faster than him, showing high levels of battle intellect, and is also pretty smart academically. He has a fair amount of combat experience too, and can even access the wisdom of 5 other one-for-all vestiges, all of whom have tons of experience in fighting as some of the strongest heroes around, and also has pretty great stamina as, even when being completely spent on energy and having many bones broken, he's still able to fight off Class 1A and keep on fighting despite that. Speaking of, right, one thing I hear a lot is Deku breaks his bones when he uses his powers, so clearly he should lose every fight he's in. This is pretty dumb, because not only can Deku use everything I've already brought up, and is as strong and as fast, as I said, with this level of power, it doesn't even break his bones. But even if he does still use enough power to break his bones, he still can fight flawlessly without that, so it's not really an argument. So overall, how powerful is Deku? Well, he's bare minimum able to destroy entire countries, and if we scale him to being able to destroy large countries and even multiple continents if you want to go there. For speed, even if you massively downplay him, he would just be the speed of light, however massively scales above that. Abilities wise, Deku can resist fate itself, can damage entities without physical form, and has a lot more on top of that. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.